Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. It's been so interesting to witness the tapering down or winding down or waning of this eclipse window. We had our solar eclipse, our new moon solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And the journey through eclipse season is quite interesting. And the reason we say it begins a month before and ends a month after is the energy of the moon at the point that it is eclipsed charges the moon. So we get the charge or the electrification of the eclipse, the themes of the eclipse, the consciousness of the eclipse that the moon then carries through with it as we navigate the rest of this lunar cycle. So we began a new lunar cycle on October 2nd with the charge of the solar eclipse in Libra, bringing to the surface the themes around relationships, self-abandonment, people-pleasing, balancing, justice, peace. All of the themes we really dove into last week and the week before are going to be highlighted as it navigates the rest of the journey through the zodiac over the next 2.5 or so weeks, which means that this moon, charged with the energy of the eclipse, will travel through and touch all of your different placements. Right now, the moon is in Sagittarius, so if you have Sagittarian placements, you will feel the electricity of this eclipse touch those different placements. And you'll notice the alchemy between this Libra solar eclipse and that Sagittarian placement you have as it passes into Capricorn. That's why eclipse season takes a while to really taper down, to wind down, because it's carrying with it the karmic lessons, the understandings, the clarity, the wisdom, the energy that it needs to bring to our lives, to our consciousness, in order for us to make the changes that we're seeking. So we're still in this eclipse energy. We're still feeling the intensity of this, of the lunar node's last journey through Libra until 18 years down the line when it enters the next journey through Libra. So this is really an important time to notice what's coming forward for you. What feels karmic, what feels fated, what feels tight or tense, what you're gripping to, and just soften that grip. There's so much happening in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of war, destruction, chaos. We're in a very martial time. We're in a time where Mars seems to be ruling, Pluto seems to be ruling. These destructive energies are very potent and available. And Libra brings us into, or invites us into, a deeper connection to our own internal regulation system, our own center point, the space where we're able to find our own internal peace or balance point amidst chaos. I always think of rescuers and people who are participating in aid amidst, destruction, or in war zones, or in places of natural disaster like the Carolinas, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia right now, even up north where they're having terrible wildfires. In Gaza, places that are experiencing destruction in such horrific ways. And you think about how these people are able to go in to remain calm, to access their own sense of inner regulation, centering, because that's really their role in that space and time. We will all go through periods where we feel disconnected, or we feel chaotic, where we feel dysregulated, where we have to be in survival mode in order to be safe, in order to activate our survival instincts, the things within our nervous system that are embedded there that keep us safe. And unfortunately, we're so inundated with data and information now from across the globe. So our nervous systems are responding as if this is happening in our homes every day. So it's important for us to acknowledge really where we are in time and space, so that we can work with that information, retrain our nervous systems to be able to hold the anchor, hold the center point, so that those who are actually in those spaces can feel dysregulated, and we can hold the frequency of groundedness, of clarity, of safety. That's not to say you should not be affected by this, because I think we all should be affected by what's happening in the world, right? Like, we should all be able to witness what's occurring as much as we have space for, honoring our capacity through that process, really understanding where our capacity lies, where our thresholds lie, pulling back when we reach that threshold, but then regulating, processing, doing what we need to do internally so that we can open our eyes again, so that we can return to the witnessing, to witness what we need to in order to integrate the density, the darkness, the intensity of the times. Bypassing it does not create growth or healing or change. It simply keeps you in the space you're in. And each and every single person knows, hopefully, where their thresholds lie, where their capacity for the intensity of the world is held, where it stands. And it's each one of our own responsibilities to honor that, and to honor where we are personally, what we have going on in our own personal lives that is chaotic, triggering, dysregulating, and honoring how much we have then for what's happening in the world as well. And this is what Libra teaches us. It is the nervous system of the zodiac. So you will notice how chaos, how these relational patterns interact with you as the moon completes the rest of its lunation. And this is really important. The reason I'm really touching on this and pressing on this is because the next few months will be quite intense. We have some pretty significant Mars and Pluto energy, alchemy interaction happening over the next month. And it's important to also note that the full moon in Aries that we have on October 17th will be activated or charged with this eclipse energy. That's when the moon reaches its peak, its full illumination. It's fully illuminated by the sun at that point, fully charged for us to witness our own internal landscape, our emotional landscape. And as we bring the energy of the solar eclipse into that space, it's going to activate within us our relational framework, our relationship to self. It's going to activate our Aries shadow, our Libra shadow. And I'll go more into this full moon next week when we have our next episode. But this full moon is very significant, and it's very highly charged by not only this eclipse that we just had at 10 degrees Libra, but it's also being deeply activated by both Pluto and Mars, who are nearing an opposition. So as they begin their journey into full opposition, which will occur on November 3rd, but begins building this week. And because we have a Mars retrograde coming up in December, it means that we will be dancing through this opposition for 3 months. So the rest of this year is really martial. It's Mars focused. Of course, Mars will be significantly impacting this next full moon in Aries on October 17th. Pluto will be as well. So there's going to be a T-square forming between Pluto, Mars, and this moon on October 17th. But we're beginning to feel the energy build towards that. And whoever has cardinal placements, Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn at the last degrees will feel this the most, like the last 10 degrees, I would say, and the first 10 degrees of fixed signs. So Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus will feel this the most. And this is really the case as well because Pluto will be completing its transit through the last degrees of Capricorn over the next month, entering into the first degree of Aquarius. And I'll go more into that in a moment, but talking more about Mars, Mars is the planet of war, of action, activation, reaction. It's assertion. It's how we move through the world. It's how we react, how we respond, how we assert ourselves and our energy. It's power. It's destruction. It's fire. And when we think about Mars and Cancer, it's really in its fall. Emotions can be very activated. Emotions can be high. We might be reacting or responding from our emotions, especially as we've had this trine between Venus and Mars over the last week, which is technically harmonious, but also deep. It's very deep. Venus and Scorpio. Venus does not like to be in Scorpio necessarily, or it's quite intense for it to be in Scorpio. Mars feels intense in Cancer. It feels like it's sort of tethered or tied to its emotional landscape in Cancer. And then we have currently a T-square between Mercury, Mars, and Chiron. So this is a deep portal of healing. I don't say any of this to alarm you or to create fear, but it's simply an opportunity to notice your reaction to what's occurring and what's unfolding in your life. The last quarter of 2024 is intense. It might feel volatile. It might feel like your emotional landscape is intensified, very dynamic, very active. This is to create a specific environment for you to do the very deep work, the very intimate work within yourself, to notice how you are responding to the world, to notice where your activation points lie, and how you can really create more regulation and more safety within your own system to create a ripple effect through space and time. Never underestimate your own power to create change. Never underestimate the power of your own inner alchemy, your own power to shift your inner landscape and send that ripple through space and time, through the collective. Trauma occurs when we feel too much all at once, when we feel helpless, when we feel disempowered, alone. We change that narrative through being present with what we're experiencing in the here and now. We change the pattern of traumatization and the passing down of generational trauma by being present with what we're experiencing, by building resilience within our own systems. This is boot camp. This is intense. This is not something that we are saved from. No one is coming to save us. Our government isn't coming to save us. Our politicians aren't coming to save us. The celebrities, the CEOs, the people that we have placed in power or pedestaled are not going to save us. That is the old way. That's the last degrees of Pluto and Capricorn revealing to us that with power comes greed and corruption. Not always, but we're not at a stage of human evolution yet where we can fully purge that from our systems. And what Pluto in Capricorn is revealing to us is that we still hold a lot of density, a lot of toxicity, a lot of darkness within our systems collectively and individually. So as Mars enters this period of deepening and revealing to us where we have internal power struggles, where we hold anger, resentment, unchecked emotions. This is a very long retrograde period for Mars as it begins its retrograde period in Leo in December, travels back into Cancer. It's going to touch the last degrees of Cancer, which will oppose Pluto again. It's going to activate and navigate the beginning degrees of Leo, which will also activate Pluto. So there is this dance between Pluto and Mars that's happening over the next few months that we will want to watch and pay attention to. And of course, I will keep you updated as always on their dance together. But it is certainly creating an intensity, a climate of volatility, destruction. If we think about Pluto at the anaretic degree of 29 degrees Capricorn, where it currently is, the last degree of any sign is a karmic point. And Pluto has been hanging at 29 degrees. It's completing its retrograde on October 11th this week. So this is also a very significant week for Pluto as well. This is a significant next 2 months for Pluto as it moves out of the anaretic degree of 29 degrees Capricorn into 0 degrees Aquarius on November 19th. But from now until November 19th, it is taking its sweet time, hanging at this karmic point of the underworld, of fate, of really looking at the underbelly of this place within our charts. Where is 29 degrees Capricorn for you? What cardinal placements do you have between 26 degrees Capricorn and 4 degrees Aquarius? So we're looking at the last degrees of cardinal placements and the first degrees of fixed placements. This is where you are experiencing the deepest parts of yourself, of your soul's journey, of where you've been before, the past, your shadow. This is a deep activation, a deep revealing. This is a deep episode. This is a time of doing the real deep work. The last time we will experience Pluto in Capricorn in our lifetimes for another 248, 49 or so years until America enters its next Pluto return, if it makes it through that. But I always, whenever we're in these spaces, I'm always, tending to my own inner landscape, tending to what's surfacing within me. I'm not sad to see Pluto leave this cardinal sign. It's been activating my Libran placements in the 12th house over the last 15 or so years, my Aries placements, my Chiron in Cancer. So I'm not sad to see it go, but it's not leaving gently. And so when we're in spaces like this, I always really focus on tending to my own work, my own internal work, of course, the work with my clients. But I feel responsible for really zooming out and looking at the wider perspective. Why is this occurring? What is it teaching us? What is this bringing us into within ourselves, but also collectively? And I do believe we're still in this period of collapsing. Many things that are no longer serving, systems, money, power. Pluto lands in the US chart's second house. So for the astrology natal chart for the United States, Pluto is in the second house, which is the house of resources, money, the material realm, structures, stability. The second house is where we build our own material structures, where we build financial freedom, financial autonomy, sovereignty. It's how we take care of ourselves on the material plane. And so if we think about it, the last 15 years, 2008 is when this transit began with Pluto and Capricorn. And it's been navigating the second house of the United States since that time when we had a market crash, when we started to see that the actions and the systems that we have built, especially over the last 100 years, are not necessarily serving the United States as a whole, the people, which is interesting because this country is founded on we the people. But at this point, it is very clear that it is serving the elite. And whatever that means for you, however you see that, that is, I think, pretty clear for many people that this is the systems that we created when this country began have been hijacked by greed, money, and power. So we're still in this process of revealing that. That's what Pluto does. It reveals, it erodes over time. So much of what has been exposed over the last 15 years is just now sort of downloading clearly into some people's consciousness. And that's because Pluto moves slowly. It's the furthest from the sun. It's our subconscious. So we've been navigating the underworld or the subconscious of the United States for at least 15 years. Now, as we navigate this last degree of this journey, the work intensifies. This is called the anaretic degree, so it's the last degree of any sign. Pluto being in the last degree of Capricorn means that the themes around money, power, success, systems, the masculine, the father will be heightened. So this is really an opportunity to perhaps go into your relationship with the father, your own inner father, your father of your childhood, your life, your material father within this life, your fathers of the past in past lives, your relationship to the masculine in general, especially because we will be navigating another Saturn and Jupiter square in December. And Jupiter also begins its retrograde journey this Wednesday, October 9th. So we have Jupiter stationing retrograde on October 9th. We have Pluto stationing direct on October 11th. So there's a lot of movement this week. There's a lot of back and forth. There's Jupiter activating or reactivating that point, that squaring point over the next 2 months that it had with Saturn in August, that we'll experience in December and then again in May. So once again, money, communication, the relationship with safety, the masculine, how we find our own internal safety, how we find and anchor our own relationship with our internal masculine. It's important to remember that there is an unconscious part of us at some point that has been looking to be saved by our Father. And this is the case for every single human because we come into this life with a primal blueprint of needing to be cared for and nurtured by a masculine and feminine energy at birth. And this doesn't mean man and woman. This means someone with a masculine energy and someone with a feminine energy. And when we don't have the presence of both of those energies in our developmental stages, we experience a rupture, a fracture, a fragmentation within that space that creates a void. almost like a vacuum that is always searching for that energy throughout our lives unconsciously. So if you had a father figure or a father who was not present, who wasn't able to create that container of safety, or maybe a mother that wasn't present, wasn't able to create that nurturing, that emotional and nervous system safety that you needed, you will have an unconscious part of you throughout your life that is searching to fill that, which then creates a pattern within relationships throughout your life, searching for someone to fill that void space. So the real work now, especially as we navigate the intensity of Mars in Cancer, Pluto in Capricorn, is to activate that space within us, to look at where we are still seeking a mother and father, to deepen into inquiry with our mother wound, with our father wound. And I do believe we all have one, even if it's very subtle, even if it shows up in ways you wouldn't expect, it's there. So it's really the work for us in this life to create a relationship with a new internal mother and father, to build your internal feminine and masculine, to build your own internal mother and father that can create safety within your system, that you do not seek to be saved by anyone externally. No, this is not to create avoidance of intimacy or an avoidant attachment pattern. This is to create a secure attachment so that you are not seeking safety, or so that you are not seeking to fill a void space within you by being in connection with anyone. Those unconscious parts can be very, very sneaky. They're trying to stay alive. They're trying to survive. So this is going to be the work that is revealed over the next few months, especially as we navigate this space, looking at and revealing the people in our lives, the people in our collectives that we are projecting our mother and father wound on. Where are we looking to be saved? This will be exposed over the next few months. And our work is to realize and to come to terms with the fact that we have everything we need to save ourselves internally and collectively. That we, the people, if we can dissolve this illusion of separation, have the power to create the change that we need, to dissolve the systems that no longer work and to build new ones. And this is the work of Pluto and Aquarius. It's to say, that didn't work for the people. We got off course. We have definitely lost the essence of our constitution. How can we course correct? How can we come back to our center point as a collective, not only the United States, but globally? How can we honor our differences while honoring our intimacy, our sameness? So if you have placements at the last degrees of the cardinal signs, the beginning degrees of the fixed signs, you will feel the next 6 months more intensely than others. This is your time to liberate yourself, to look at where you feel stuck, where you feel fated to certain outcomes or patterns, and to activate your sovereignty, your liberation, your freedom. Next week, I will go deep into this full moon that we have on October 17th. I will also be hosting a full moon workshop, so you can sign up for that at the link in my bio. I'll put it in the show notes as well. Thank you, as always, for being present, for being amazing, for sharing, rating, reviewing this podcast. If you're new, welcome. There's been a lot of new people over the last few weeks. I'm so happy to have you here. I hope you're receiving what you need from this. As always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Whatever's downloading through this is resonating with what's true for you and passing what's not. So I never want to create fear or programming around anything, and I hope that that comes through. Never forget your power to change what's occurring within your life. Astrology is here to reveal where we have opportunity to exert or activate our free will to change what's not working within our lives. I hope you have such a beautiful week. We are entering a portal of deep transformation and change, so I'm sending lots of love as you navigate this journey. Have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.